Mercy. Yeah, I think it's out. A little bit of allergy. Yeah, sure. My wife makes fun of me. She thinks I'm like Ed talking. Well, welcome to the CP stage. I'm Kevin Ezell, president of the North American Mission Board, and I have a panel with me today. We're going to be talking about foster care and adoption. And we're so thankful to have Shane Pruitt, who is our National Next Gen Director at the North American Mission Board, and also Will and Tarah Browning, who is actually our Send Network, a city missionary for all of LA, and but recently just moved here from South Carolina. So we're so thankful that all of you guys would join us, and each one has their own story about adoption and some foster care. And so what I'd like to do is we talk about it. We don't want to talk about some of the blessings of it, but also I want to be very transparent because there are blessings, but what our experience has been is that not everything was in the brochure, you know? We have 6 kids. We adopted our youngest 3, one from China, one from Ethiopia, and one from Philippines. We adopted one when she was 1, another when she was 3, and then we adopted our son when he was 12. All of those bring unique blessings and unique challenges. And so I would like for you to just to share a little bit about your the story, your pathway. So Shane, why don't you start and just tell a little bit about how you guys started an adoption?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a wonderful wife named Casey. Definitely married way over my head. We've been married almost 18 years, and we have 6 kiddos as well, 2 biological daughters and then 4 adopted kiddos. Growing up, I was an only child, so my parents did foster care. So I knew whenever I got married that I also wanted that to be a part of our family story as well, and my wife did as well. So we got married. We had our 2 oldest daughters first, and then started the adoption process. So we have a little boy adopted from Uganda, a little boy adopted from Liberia, and a son and daughter adopted from Texas.
So how many altogether?
6. And now we're saying it is finished. It is done. Yeah. Our quiver is full. Yeah.
Will, I bet you and Tarah.
Yeah. You want to start? Your story really starts it.
Sure. So growing up in a home with foster care, adoption in the culture, that was already in my heart. Meeting Will, he'd not really been exposed to adoption or foster care, and early on we received the news about infertility, and so the Lord was already pushing us that way, pushing us towards adoption, and now we have 3 kiddos through adoption and 1 biological child, and the Lord's playing a practical joke on us. We had all 3 of ours in 5 months, so we are done. It was done after that 5 months. So we have 1 biological child, 2 adopted children from the Ukraine.
Yeah, and they're from Mariupol, Ukraine, which has been in the news a good bit, and that's been part of the tragic stuff that our family's dealt with. Is they have a desire to one day meet their family, and now there's a good bit of fear that they may never get a chance to do that. But she said 3 kids, 5 months, and then 2 months later we planted our church.
Right.
That wasn't smart.
Right. That's a lot of life change at one time.
Yeah.
And our story is similar. My wife is very passionate about adoption, and she led the way, and I followed. You know, all of our life, she's always followed me. And so I said, hey, look, I'm open to it. And then we did 1, 2, 3, and then I was like, okay, I'm less and less open to more. But she has a passion for it. And so that's what I've found typically in marriages. It'd be one that's be very passionate, and the other is wants to be obedient and follow. Wait, in your pathway, I'd be curious, what were some of the resources, if someone's considering adoption, what were some of the resources that, look, we checked here, we checked there, because you're looking for different agencies, or what were some agencies that you could trust, or not, maybe you don't have to name specific names, or how did you go to find particular resources? Because it's Send Relief, sendrelief.org. We want to provide resources and pathways for people who are interested to do that. And so what would be some of the ways that you did that? You want to go ahead and start, Will? You want to do that?
Yeah, well, I'm going to change the question just a tad.
Absolutely.
I would say the greatest resources that we had were Jeff and Hart Deal and Marshall and Kathy Blaylock.
Right.
We read a lot of books in preparation. but nothing compared to sitting down with adopted families who could say, hey, you need to nuance this a little bit. You need to consider, like, you've read this, you understand this, but this is how it's going to work for your kid based on their situation. So for us, the greatest resource were people who've been down the road. And then what that allowed for us to be is to be people who are down the road with the next couple. So that was the best resources that I can remember.
And thankfully, as far as getting connected to the actual adoption process, a wonderful church in Louisville at the time was connecting families to the Ukraine, and two women who were just using their call to rescue orphans were helping families like us who desperately wanted to have children, and that led us to the Ukraine.
But you, Shane?
Yeah, absolutely. I love what Will said. I echo that. Is find some people who have done it. You know, use those human resources, and then there's incredible books out there, and a podcast that we point people all the time to. And you know, don't want this to be a shameless plug, but it is a great resource that NAM provides in the Adopting and Fostering Home podcast. That's a great resource that I think you know who does that podcast. You know, yeah. But that's a great resource as well. And then an agency. You really don't want to navigate this alone. You do not want to fly blind on this. Find a trusted agency that is an ethical agency that can also help you take these steps as well.
Yeah, I've been amazed at some of the just the foolish and actually just stupid questions people would ask.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel sorry for them because they're going in there so blind. And I say stupid, like I had somebody say, well, hey, how do you pick out the skin color? Like when you go to pick out a child, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's not like picking out a car.
Yeah.
And I tell the story often. I was in a grocery store and someone asked me that. And I said, well, you just go and ask for the skin swatches and then they'll tell you what country to apply it for. She's like, really? I had no idea. I'm like, it just people are so ridiculously flying blind on this. And we found that individuals and people we trust were the ones that were the best resources to go to. So tell me, Shane, what would you say would be the best encouragement, or what would you best way for churches to encourage people to adopt?
Yeah, I think everything always in my heart is everything starts at the pulpit. You know, I think it's important for pastors to show the value of caring for those that are in vulnerable situations, seeing the beauty of adoption, how adoption is a picture of the gospel. So I think educating your church, what does the Bible say? And so I think really starting at the pulpit and then providing resources within your church and a community within your church when people take this step of obedience to know they're not taking this step alone, that they have a church family that's going to support them. So I would say start with the pulpit and then creating just those community resources in your church. Yeah.
Will, you left a very successful church in South Carolina to come to L.A., which we're very grateful for. But when you were in South Carolina, leading in that pastoral role, what were some of the things you did to encourage your people to consider adoption?
So we did have a week every year that we called Orphan Sunday, and it was a focus on it, and it's a great opportunity for gospel explanation. And it was a really good connection point for me as an adopting father, because I think nothing has shown me more the heart of God than being an adopting father.
Right.
That would be one. The second thing I would say is most families that are doing foster care or adoption are struggling.
Right.
And they need to know that if they bring their child to your church, that it's going to be a safe place where people understand.
Right.
Their kids are not going to do all the right things. Their kids are going to make mistakes. And because of that, they don't go to church because they're scared of that experience and what it might feel like to be judged by everybody else.
Right.
So when a pastor is willing to stand up for them and speak about their value, then they often are assimilated into the church much better. So I think creating that safe environment was really, really important for our adopted families.
That's wonderful. Tarah, tell me, I'd like to, in the final 10 minutes we have here, to focus on some of the reality. I mean, we talk about some of the things that are in the brochure. They're pretty flowery. You know, the pictures are beautiful. We love the kids. But not everything's in the brochure. There's some challenges, and reality is much different often. So how would you be open to sharing just some of how you face some of those obvious realities of the hard parts? Because there's some have to do with trauma and things that we had to learn along the way. And you want to parent, you know, all your kids are I have 6 kids, they're all very different. Look at one, they just crumble. Look at the other and like, hey, what's the problem? So how did you deal with that, about just learning how to deal with the realities or some of the challenges? You want to be as transparent as you want to be.
I love what Will said about adoption being his greatest representation of the gospel, because I feel that rhythm has been necessary in being an adopted mom, that seeing God's story of redeeming us, running to us, that the days that my kids weren't running to me, in fact, they were pushing me away, rejecting me, that there was this daily obedience of, I'm going to lean in, God, because I love you first.
Right.
And everything in me is saying, don't lean in, protect yourself. But because of Christ leaning in towards us, it's just this daily step. God, I'm going to take a step of obedience of loving my son and daughter today. And we can feel that weight as biological parents as well.
Right.
But then, secondly, being teachable.
Right.
I think I had a game plan for how I would be a parent. In fact, we loved parenting other people's children before we had children. We were
easier.
such Pharisees, yes. I
Right.
think that, now the Lord is really teaching us and growing us through our own children.
Right.
In fact, it's played a huge role in the sanctification process for us just as children of God. Being teachable, being willing that, God, what are you asking me to do for this particular child's need? And am I willing, God, to humble myself and provide that? So
Right.
if it's helping them to receive mental health care, if it's humbling myself to ask another mom for help, am I willing to put myself in that humble posture in order to
Right.
help my child become all that God has created them to be?
Sure. Shane, how about you?
Yeah, I think one thing to remember is, if it wasn't for the fall, if it wasn't for sin, there wouldn't be any need for adoption or foster care,
Right.
And so, yes, we say, yeah, adoption is beautiful and foster care can be beautiful and it can be a picture of the gospel. But there's real sense of loss there. There's real sense of heartache there. And it can be beauty, but it's got to be beauty that we realize comes out of ashes, And so we gotta say, God's got to call you to this, because if it's something you're guilted into or it's an emotional response, you'll get your face kicked in,
Right.
So I think that's just being honest about where it is, to go, hey, the reason there's adoption and foster care is because of the fall, because of sin. So there's going to be brokenness there. There's going to be heartbreak there. There's going to be scars and wounds there. But healing can take place, and it's just going to be a long, long journey. And you got to be ready for the journey.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it reveals the pride in ourselves. I mean,
No
we all want to
doubt.
be the perfect parents, want the kids to do the right thing, and when they don't, we're like, man, what did I not teach them? What did I not do?
Yeah.
How could that possibly help? I mean, we have 6 kids. I have one son that we adopted. He's 22. We got him when he's 12. We only had him 6 years, for until he's 18, and he's in the process of building a testimony as we speak. And I told him he's building one at a crusade level at the moment. And so, but you just get to the point where you have to unconditionally love them,
Yeah.
and to realize, look, you just do everything you possibly can, but it can't be a sense of pride, like, man, I don't want everybody else to know this. Maybe a year or so ago, I'd be afraid to even say that in public. I'm not trying to, pounce on him in public, but at the same time, you got to share with people the realities, because there are joys.
Yeah.
And they sometimes go into the adoption with, we had no idea. We had no trauma training, and I had no idea. I mean, you didn't share all of your story. I mean, your son, you had no idea he had even special needs. And then some of the things that come along with that pathway, then you guys have just adjusted incredibly, but it's challenging. So, Will, you have anything else you want to add to that part?
Yeah, a couple things I would say. I think to go into adoption is to recognize that you're making the choice to love someone who may not have the capacity to love you back.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're going into it and hope to receive something rather than hope to give something, this is going to be a disappointment.
Yeah.
But if you recognize that this is how God's going to shape you to become more like Him,
Right.
then it begins to stir something. I think the second thing for us was, I want to get down on myself on the decisions my kids make, because I really wanted to try hard. I always tell Tarah, I think I'm going to go to heaven, and God's going to pat me on the back and go, "You did try.
Yeah.
You did give it a good effort."
Yeah.
But one of the things I've come to understand is, God's first two children were being raised by a perfect father in a perfect environment, and they still rebelled.
Right.
They still made a mistake.
Right.
And as someone who's not going to be a perfect father, and I'm not going to have the luxury of raising them in a perfect environment, I can't expect that I'm going to do better than God. I need to expect that my kids are going to go through these things themselves,
Right.
and that's part of them coming to know the power of the gospel.
Right. I tell you, one of the biggest testimonies to me is watching people in my church or other pastor friends of mine walk through a child being arrested, a child being kicked out of a school, a child being kicked out of a league, and for them to love them, walk with them through it, not condone it and defend it, but to love them and walk with them through it. And there's really not a better example of just Jesus' unconditional love for us, and helping them understand that. And again, you realize too, they come from where they don't have a great father model. I have to constantly remind one of my sons, like, look, this is what fathers do. I mean, you're not wanting to help, but this is actually why God put me in this spot. This is my job description.
Yeah.
And because he was trying to make everything about a vote, and you're starting back from square one.
Yeah.
And but I've just learned to kind of flush the pride, and God, I want to be an open legal pad. You do with us what you want. It's about obedience. It really is about obedience. So what would be one of the joys, Shane, that you have? How many total kids you have now?
Yeah, 6.
I know that. I was just letting you tell them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
You just got back with your sixth and final.
Yes, that's right.
And but
Yeah.
what are some of the joys? You got an incredible, beautiful family.
Yeah.
Your wife's a saint. You're like
Oh,
Mother
man.
Teresa gone Southern Baptist.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I mean, what would be some of the joys?
Oh man, all those are true. I definitely outpunted my coverage with Casey for sure, my wife. Yeah, and you talked about our son that has unique needs, Titus. We have a son from Uganda, and he's got a rare seizure disorder called Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. So that means he suffers from multiple forms of seizure every single day. And he's almost 10. When he hits double digits, that's going to be a party because that's a miracle. But he came home to be with us when he was 6 months old. So since then, he's had 14 surgeries, in and out of the hospital, constant doctor visits, therapist visits, all those things. And there's no kind of suffering like watching your child suffer.
Right.
But to see the joy in that, I always say this, that besides the Holy Spirit himself, the greatest teacher in my life is my son Titus. And every day we lay hands on him and pray for God to heal him because we believe God can physically heal him. But the great irony of God is over these last 9 years, as we've been praying for God to heal him, God has actually used him to heal us.
Right.
That God's used him to make me a better follower of Jesus, a better husband, better father, better minister, better friend, follower. And just to see that take place where God's used him to teach us is an amazing. I always say this, it's not always happy feelings.
Right.
It's not always giddy times, but there's incredible joy there to know that, like, even in the midst of suffering, God is good. He has a plan. He's got this. So we just trust him day by day.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing that. How about Will, Tarah?
Yeah, I love telling this story. It's my favorite adoption story. It's my favorite moment from doing this. So the way that our adoption finalized, our biological son, had been born, and we left him in America as we went to Ukraine. Tarah goes back, and I have the kids by myself. My mom came, but I still say by myself because she was in grandma mode. And I'll never forget Ethan, which was the youngest, now our middle son, came on top of me, jumped on top of me. He laid his head on my chest. He said something in Russian. I didn't know what he said. I look over at the translator, and she's crying. And I just said, "What did he say?" And she said, "Your son just put his head on your chest and said, 'My daddy, my daddy. I finally got my daddy.'"
Oh my word! Oh my word! My eyes are watering. It's not tears. It's not tears. We had something similar when we went to pick up. We said you got JM when he was 12, and I'll never forget the first time I was putting him to bed. he took his hands and he pushed on my cheeks really hard. And he was wanting me to give him eye contact just directly to him. I said, "What's wrong, buddy?" And he said, I'll never forget it. He goes, I will be a good son for you. And my word, and I said, well, I will be a good dad to you. Now since then I realized he lied. But the point of this is you want to take the opportunity to enjoy them, and they're a blessing, and it's a great opportunity for God to use you. Thank you very much.